This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
You got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans. That's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Welcome to the December 4th edition of One Nation Radio. My name is Rich Latta. And unfortunately, James is not joining us this week. He ended up last minute having to attend to a family matter. So I'll be holding it down tonight alone on this show. We have a lot of great topics to talk about. And this weekend, you know, just a lot of crazy stuff went down in the college football world. Today is December 4th, which is Jay-Z's birthday. In my opinion, probably the greatest rapper of all time. Just thinking about Jay-Z, he's someone that I took a lot of influence from in my early years as an MC, and even to this day, just seeing all the moves that he's made and everything like that. I just loved his albums that came out pretty much at the end of every year from like 96 to 2003. It was just a run that I think is unlike any other personally. Really, you know, was a big fan of Rockefeller Records, and just a big happy birthday to Jay-Z, turning 54 years old today. Love to see, you know, the great rappers that age. But in other news, I guess we should get to it. Florida State robbed and not put in the top 4 of the college football power rankings. I believe that's how you say it. I haven't paid as much attention this year, but I got really involved this last weekend just because I thought the scenarios were so crazy. There was going to be nastiness somewhere, and the Florida State Twitter has been going pretty much insane. All kinds of backwards compliments, straight up outrage. Shout out to my boy Floyd. He was very upset. We watched the decision live together, and Floyd, not usually the the most foul-mouthed individual, immediately yelled, "They fucked us!" And this was he was a little bit ahead of me, so I am a Florida State fan as well. But nowhere near like James and Floyd, because they have way more years in this thing than me. It was really interesting because, you know, I felt like everyone thought Michigan and Washington were getting in. Then, you know, it comes down to the battle of Alabama, Texas, and then Florida State. Florida State, of course, lost Jordan Travis. And then Georgia messed around and lost the SEC championship to Alabama. And then Texas defeated Alabama head-to-head. So it was like, well, who's going to get left out? And I was kind of shocked because obviously this is the first time, you know, Power 5 team that was undefeated, didn't lose any games, has been told it doesn't matter, get it like the Red Cross. You're going to be on the outside looking in. The thing that really jumped out to me was hearing them talk about the availability of your team is going to be basically like who's available, who's injured, and they're taking that into account. When I saw that line, I kind of thought it might be bad for Florida State, and it turns out it was. There are two schools of thought on this, I believe. I don't want to put words in his mouth. James kind of predicted this stuff, so it wasn't really something, you know, he felt like when Jordan Travis went down, that was like the season going up in smoke itself. There are a lot of different theories on this thing. whether Jordan Travis was healthy, would they have put him in or not? Is this a network decision with ESPN? Is this all just a big money grab? Because it's not like, Washington is going to be driving the ratings or anything like that. Or is it just you play in the SEC so you get carte blanche to do what you want? There are a lot of great arguments for everyone. Georgia, of course, they're 29-0. The last, 29-game winning streak, they finally lose, and now they're out. I guess that's just the way the ball bounces. Saban gets to play the underdog role with perhaps the most talented team in the country aside from the quarterback position. And Michigan, not happy. If you guys saw that video where they find out that they're not playing Florida State and they're playing Alabama, and it just looked like someone died in the room. So we're looking at Washington and Texas, and then Michigan versus Alabama. The young boy Joshua Smith is a Michigan fan, so there's going to be, pick your favorite social suplex for people that are not Florida State fans. I think for now I'm going to root for Texas. Get this anarchy to keep going. I don't want Michigan to win. I do not want Alabama to win. I'll go with Texas and see if the SEC fans try to claim that as a championship, as they like to claim things, whether they win them or not. But moving on from college football, we got huge news in the world of pro wrestling that broke this afternoon. Now, the Kazuchika Okada becomes a free agent. People have interest in him. These stories go around quite regularly. And sometimes it is like, oh, okay, yeah, this is something we all know, or there's a new wrinkle in this thing. So the new wrinkle in this thing, I guess we should pull up a story. It was Sports Illustrated that put this thing out there. And Kazuchika Okada is set to become a free agent in 2024. So how it goes, I believe this is Justin Barrasso. So to face New Japan Pro Wrestling, Kazuchika Okada's current contract expires at the end of January with a deal under New Japan that would be typical anyway. Kazuchika Okada is 36 years old, and he's seriously entertaining the possibility of wrestling for a different promotion. Immediately, everyone started saying, oh shit, it's time to bring Okada back to TNA. Saw people calling for Toriamon. I've seen people saying Noah should offer him a contract. I think it really comes down to two places. And apparently, when Okada wrestled on Dynamite in October, the purpose of his trip was not to solely advance the feud with Bryan Danielson for Wrestle Kingdom, but that was essentially a Kazuchika Okada recruitment trip. And that kind of gave him the chance to, kind of evaluate AEW and, see, if that would be a place for him. Should he opt to exit New Japan? Of course, Triple H has wanted this guy for years. They've got Shinsuke Nakamura there, his former Chaos mate. They got Finn Balor, who's obviously familiar with him, AJ Styles. They got, people Okada has, crossed paths with in the past. Of course, I wouldn't want to see that or anything because, who wants to see people end their careers by signing with WWE? Probably be doomed to boredom, and I don't know. I don't think, handing Kazuchika Okada a mic on live television might be the way to go. I struggle to feel like they would know how to present him well, but looking at it, there are a lot of things to think about. With Kazuchika Okada possibly going somewhere like AEW. Can Kazuchika Okada finally get his official, Young Bucks style merch? Not trying on Matt Jackson stuff, not trying on Nick Jackson. We got to get the real Rainmaker, clothing and everything like that. Jokes aside, I don't think this would actually, like, if Kazuchika Okada jumps, he jumps, whatever. Whether he goes to AEW, I would like it. AEW is my favorite promotion. I would love to see a guy that obviously has all this history with these guys, come over, and he would obviously be used, how he's used. But as far as like for the health, I think of the wrestling business, I don't think my initial want would be for Okada to sign with either WWE or AEW. I would want him to stay in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, there's nothing to me that, like, Kazuchika Okada will never be bigger in any other promotion than he would be in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Could this be a financially related thing? Okada's wife is rich. Okada's been paid well for a long time, but you never know, man. Like, who knows? Who's to say he hasn't talked to Will Ospreay? And Will was like, yeah, old Barry, showed me this number, and I lost my mind. And then Kazuchika Okada's like, well, Bushiroad, what you got? And if he's, putting this stuff out to put pressure on them to drive the price up, good for him. He deserves it. I think that Okada as a wrestler right now is more valuable to New Japan Pro Wrestling. They should do everything they can to retain his services and help, have him usher in their next class. Because I tell you, if Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada leave without like really helping or losing to the next era, there's going to be some upset people. I think there would be a couple of other funny outcomes. I would see a lot of the, your more hardcore New Japan fans that are very upset about anything that happens with AEW. I might actually have to shoot them some bail on this one. And I think that, if you're talking about the partnership with New Japan and AEW, I don't see how, if you're like a bang the drum New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, if you feel like all your guys are getting taken from them by like Tony Khan, like I don't see how Kazuchika Okada doing that. You're not wanting to rip essentially this whole thing up and start anew. Then on the other hand, it's like, well, maybe this is a case where it would force New Japan to rip the Band-Aid off to really start going with that next era like a lot of us are clamoring for them to do. If it was my company, I'd be thinking about how Yota Tsuji is the world champion by the next time they roll in the Forbidden Door. Can we get to New Beginning and Yota Tsuji is the champion, and then really just start going with those next guys? There's a lot of different ways this could go, and I don't think AEW or New Japan or WWE necessarily need Okada, but he's like an ultimate luxury. He's a guy that's obviously just like one of the most premier wrestlers of this era, and he's got a lot of miles. This guy's like, he's got a fucked up neck, and he's had lots of wars and different G1s and lots of legendary Tokyo Dome matches. There's not really anywhere for him to ascend to in New Japan. So maybe there's part of him that's like, yeah, I want to go abroad and do that. But for me personally, I think for the best of wrestling, I think Bushiroad better find the money, find the yen, because if they don't, I'll welcome them with open arms into U.S. wrestling, and in particular AEW. I think there are a lot of great opportunities there. A lot of history, obviously, with Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega. Who wouldn't want Okada and Omega 5 on a show like Wembley Stadium or something like that? There's just the long rumored Kazuchika Okada and the Young Bucks trio. Of course, he'd be standing aside from someone like Bryan Danielson. New people he hasn't faced like Swerve. People that he faced early in their careers that are not the same. Hangman Page. Of course, Jay White and Okada have lots of history. So, like, there's guys everywhere you look. Let the pillars. We got comments. Brewhaven saying Okada and Darby Allin. That'd be like an interesting match. See if he could speed Okada up. We know Okada doesn't like young guys, so he can just import that Jumbo Tsuruta like gimmick on over. Should he jump? But I don't think that Okada should do this. Like, I think he should remain in New Japan Pro Wrestling and continue to, add to his greatness by wrestling the next class, and then, do his thing. I think he's someone, that's just such a special performer. He can write his own ticket. These companies should be on their knees begging for their services, and there's got to be ways to either, if you're New Japan, you need to know how to treat this guy special going forward. Have him, remain, whether he's in an office position, whether he's, just this emeritus style ace, continue to be like this signature guy. Because if you're New Japan Pro Wrestling, if you lose this guy, I think you got to tear this entire thing down and start it over. And that means going as young as possible, and then possibly, you're scaling back for a couple years without Okada. I know people would say, yeah, we got Tetsuya Naito. He's a huge draw. There's LIJ, and yes, there is. But on the other side of that always was Okada. And there's something to rebel against. Tanahashi's who knows how long he's going to be around. It would be a lot of rebuilding. And, I got people talking about Sonata in the comments. I'm sorry, Sonata's not the answer. Sonata's not going to captivate the audience and the imagination like Kazuchika Okada has for a decade plus. Tomohiro Ishii is 47 years old. So it's a lot to think about. I would not want to lose Kazuchika Okada under any circumstances. So let's keep it rolling here. I got the next thing here. Obviously, CM Punk returned to Monday Night Raw, and that was a interesting promo, to say the least. CM Punk last week came out on Raw. We were on the air live, kind of or not live. We were recording as it was happening, and you guys caught some of our natural reaction to this stuff as it was coming in on Twitter. And I saw it. I watched the promo a day later, and it was odd. For one, I didn't see the crowd reaction or anything with the entrance and everything like that. But man, you talk about a guy that looked dead behind the eyes. You talk about a guy that is saying these almost insincere sounding things. This man CM Punk himself called it a personal moral failure if he's ever back in WWE. It is interesting to see this guy clearly showing up for the check when it seems like this was never him, but maybe this is who it was underneath all that. And I think, I don't know who's eating the crow between CM Punk or his fans or anything like that, but I heard it. The promo didn't make me excited about a future opponent. It didn't make me excited about what his mission statement is. He turns to the camera, after he did all the monologuing with the mic, and he does one of those off the camera where he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm here to make friends, not money." And it's like I saw people desperately trying to turn this into this is what we came for. And it's like, no, man, y'all know what a lightning style CM Punk promo is like. Y'all know what it feels like. Because I was there. You were there for the pipe bomb. I was there when he cut a promo face-to-face with The Rock and out-talked him. I was there watching Rampage when he cut the I Return to Professional Wrestling promo. When we're talking about those promos and this guy and that level, what you saw last Monday was not that. And there was I believe it was Joe Lanza was talking about it. He said, there's a stark difference on the feeling, after Survivor Series, they blow the roof off with this guy. Twitter's ablaze, everything like that. But after Monday, it was jokes. It was people beating this guy down, saying, WWE bought a bad bag of dope. People, looked at this promo as just heartless. Especially with this guy, coming out here and saying he's home of all things. This company that, he was in litigation with. This company that he shat on for years and years and years. It's not particularly compelling to me. But I see how people could, get wrapped up in this thing. I'm going to try to take it, to that level. But when I saw this, I was like, yo, there's no way Triple H didn't laugh himself like into tears after seeing this. It's like, yep. Like y'all seen that Drewski video. Got him. We fucking got him. Like there's no way that Triple H isn't doing a fist pump, calling Vince McMahon like we won. Like I don't know how, if you are a huge CM Punk supporter, you feel good about this. Like at best you can be like, well, maybe they'll treat him better. And it's like, yo, I think you can look at something like him getting stuck in the third hour, him not getting to touch that commercial-free part of the show. Like, yo, we're going to give that to Randy Orton, their guy that's been there for 20 years, that's coming off the injury and everything like that. What we're going to do is give you the end of this show, see if you can hold them and really test, who's here for you. And I think they did a decent number, but he's not being protected the way that he was in AEW. Like, as far as like, yeah, we're putting you on not near any ad breaks. We're putting you on at 8:00, top of the hour. And, Big CM, like, this is a whole new, playing field as far as, compared to what he did in AEW. But I'm just glad as the weeks go by with this stuff, we know who this guy's, what his priorities were, who he always kind of wanted to be with, as I mentioned previously on the shows. And there's nothing wrong with what he wanted to do, with his career. The place that he wanted to come back to originally was WWE. Did the backstage. COVID happened. He then inquired with WWE again. Vince McMahon said, hell no. Then he reached out to Tony Khan. They had the whole deal with CM Punk basically saying, I want them to stop talking about me, and the text message stuff, and Cody was talking about it. And then finally CM Punk comes in. A lot of relitigation on, his role in these things. And you see just this revisionist history about a lot of this stuff. And it's like, we were all there. Why do we have to, dress it up to be something that it wasn't? It's like, it reeks of people not being able to accept how it ended for him in All Elite Wrestling, which was a firing of cause. And now he's in WWE. I think if you're rooting for CM Punk to either correct his career, or you're just like, yo, fuck it, like, you're going to stick it to him, he's going to be the person in WWE now that you wanted him to be in AEW. I just don't know if that's going to happen. And I feel like I can give it 12 months generously. And as far as like last Monday night, like, just uncompelling for me. And it was just like, technically, like, the way he's speaking into the microphone and doing the monologue, he nails all that, right? But like, you're looking for him to like really bite down onto something. This was not even like that Collision, the first Collision promo, as scatterbrained as that one was. This one, I didn't even have a clue like who he would really be facing off with. And, of course, people say, yeah, earlier in the show, they had Seth Rollins call him a hypocrite. I don't care about Seth Rollins. What if I just tuned in to see CM Punk? So, like, what did he do to really bring us back next week? I don't really think they gave us much, aside from, just the novelty of CM Punk's going to be on SmackDown next week. So, I'm looking at it, so... And how I know this promo did not go over in ways where it was like, yeah, man, they're shaking the table with this one. Immediately, they were jumping out the next day with, oh, they're thinking about CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm sorry, man. It's not 2012. It's not 2013. Stone Cold already came back. Stone Cold already wrestled the match against Kevin Owens. Now, if you're going to say, yo, now we're going to get a chance to promote Stone Cold Steve Austin ahead of time to do this thing, cool. What's the storyline going to be at all? Is Stone Cold Steve Austin going to be like defending the good name of WWE? Is this just going to be something simple as Stone Cold likes to drink beer and CM Punk is straight edge? That stuff feels 10 to 15 years too late. And this would be what I would call a big dumb WrestleMania match should it happen. And that's WrestleMania does a lot of those. The big dumb WrestleMania match. I'm sure if I laid it all down on paper, you would probably be able to like figure out what that year's particular big dumb WrestleMania match is. Could you possibly get some good promos? Maybe, but these are two guys that obviously didn't want, creatively to, just do anything. And asking Austin to come in for this, I feel like there would need to be some like major creative liberties, like basically agreed to. First, how the hell are they going to work this match? Because CM Punk is going to need to bump around and, structure everything for Austin. Could he do it? I don't know. Based on how CM Punk has looked this year, he's been able to rise to the occasion in a match like his Wembley Stadium match. But some of the matches, like with Ricky Starks, just week to week on TV, they were weird. Let's just keep it a stack, man. They were weird. They were unathletic. They were not necessarily taking the biggest bumps in the world. So him with Austin, it seems like it would just be a walk-in brawl. It would be something to where it would just be some lowest common denominator wrestling. It would be the mother and the absolute father of Bret Hart tributes, because of course he would want to redo as much as Survivor Series 96 as he could, as much as WrestleMania 13 as he could. But I'm telling you, Austin, I don't even know how old Austin is right now. Let me pull this up. Stone Cold Steve Austin age. Stone Cold Steve Austin is 58 years old. He will be 59 next week. Now, Austin is almost 60 years old, rounded up. I don't know what he's really remotely capable of at this point. This is somebody, if you want to compare him to Sting, go ahead. Sting is maybe forcing us how to reconsider an older wrestler, but Sting was like 100 times more active than Austin in the years leading up. And like Sting's like he's been a freak of nature. Austin was too, but in a different way. Sting is like an athletic marvel, in his youth. And I think with Austin, this coming back like this, it would feel weird. It would be like, oh, well, why didn't you come and face CM Punk in like 2013? You probably could have did it then. So, like, that whole thing feels weird to me. So, like, that coming out immediately, I'm like, oh, they want us to shift the focus off of how, like, kind of mid this promo was, right? They then floated stories about Seth Rollins being the initial opponent. And whatever, we all kind of expected that with the whole thing. But I can't think of a whacker feud to enter the company with. One, it's funny because it's Seth Rollins having to defend the honor of WWE, which never, and I mean never, turns out well. If his whole thing is rooted in CM Punk saying CM Punk's a hypocrite, CM Punk's going to turn around and be like, so what? And then Rollins is dead in the water. And then the match, I don't think that'll be really that good. I feel like this is a 3 1/4 special, staring us in the face. And they coupled this Rollins story with saying, oh yeah, eventually we'd like to get him in there with Roman Reigns. You got to do the match. Like, I'm not even disputing that. You have to do CM Punk versus Roman Reigns if you're WWE, preferably like in sometime before, like maybe SummerSlam. Maybe that's your SummerSlam main event or something like that. If it's me, I want to get as many big CM Punk matches booked before he self-destructs. But I'm not the audience for the CM Punk Roman Reigns feud right now. But it would be this. There would be all-time nasty discourse around this match, with people just taking all types of liberties with history, and that goes for the fans as well as the company. If CM Punk starts doing the monologues mid-match, Brewhaven, I think I will just fall down out my chair laughing. where does Cody Rhodes play into this CM Punk stuff? Because I gotta say, some of the stuff Cody is saying feels like a man walking a thin line where he's like, yo, I have my own business to tend to right now, and I don't need him becoming a nuisance for me, whether it's blocking me from where I need to go or getting myself tied down with him in his muck. If he wants to do business the correct way, I think Cody will do business with him, right? But man, the CM Punk Cody WWE feud being about who did what on the outside of the company just doesn't seem like things that they would write. So that that leads me to think that it would end up being about something goofy. So, oh no, man, it's a lot. And these are all things that have not been planted on television or anything. This is through backstage interviews, like, with news, with media outlets. Oh my God, Cody and Punk's dogs feud. Oh my God. Pharaoh versus Larry. Who y'all got in the shoot? Please let me know. There's no way CM Punk's dog can do something with Pharaoh. There's no way. So I think I should probably start talking about dogfighting on this show, especially being this close to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium like I am, which is where Michael Vick used to play, which is where, let's move on. So, yeah, Dr. Larry, no, we're not doing no dogfighting here. Jesus. But yeah, man, ultimately, I thought this was pretty uncompelling. Like, as far as like a week one, I didn't think this necessarily brought anyone back, and they stuck this promo at the end of a fucking horrible show. People were telling me the cage match bots couldn't even save this, and this was like a chance for people to really show the new WWE, quote unquote, to all the folks like us and, people like myself and maybe you that don't watch WWE anymore. If you do, I imagine that you saw this show and was like, oh, this is not hitting. This is a chance, I think, to try to win a couple people over who are like, yeah, man, I don't want to watch WWE, but I want to see what CM Punk's got going on. Maybe I'll lock in. And they're booking shit like Randy Orton and Dom Mysterio, never-ending tag team turmoil matches, and it's like they just didn't give anybody a reason. What did Tracy Chapman say? Give me one reason to stay here. They did not do that. So let's see. Brewhaven says, Rich, which belt has more prestige, the AEW Real World's Championship or the WWE World Heavyweight Championship V2? Man, that is a great question. Seeing as how there were only 2 matches for the AEW Real World Championship with the X on it, it spent primarily most of its time in a bag, inactive for a long time. Even, someone like, just like you lay this out on paper, I think you got to say the WWE World Heavyweight title that Rollins has been carrying around, the fake joint, the bronze medal, as we've called it on this show. Zach says, congratulations for surviving FOH week. Yes. So we're going to wrap up the CM Punk talk. I think this is an evolving story. If he does anything remotely interesting, we'll talk about it. But as far as like him having anything to say about AEW, he can't. He's on NDA, and that shit is tight as hell. So, people were maybe looking for things that weren't there with the promo he cut, but he's been defanged, and how valuable really is a defanged CM Punk? So he's the youngest guy in the world, and this guy is his superstardom is going to be determined through his promos and his personality. What's he have to really be upset about? We will see. Last Saturday, we recorded the FOH draft, which is the 7th annual edition of us basically getting together for around Christmas time, drinking, our beverage of choice, and shooting on the business, all the hot topics and kind of lightning rod topics and ranting and, giving it to people. And we did it we did it at my in-laws' place. So big shout out to them for making it happen. We were able to do it in person, which was really cool. So unfortunately, we didn't record video or anything, but there is a video that I believe may be around. There is a great section of the show that kind of culminates at the end with chops being unleashed. And you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you that are new to listening to One Nation Radio or the Social Suplex Podcast Network, Keepin It Strong Style, this is a show between myself, James Boyd, Jeremy Donovan, and Joshua Smith of Keepin It Strong Style. And this is a paid show. So all year we do all this, these podcasts and, streams and all this stuff free of charge. We let you guys, hang out and stuff like that. And appreciate the subscription, Awkward Turtle. And we charge for this show. And the thing is, we don't charge a specific number. We let you determine that. It's kind of a pay what you want model. So if we've had people pay $50 for this thing before. We've had people pay $100 for this show. Would I like someone to pay $1,000 for the show? Sure, I would love that. But whatever it is, it is worth every penny that you spend for it. I know you guys we don't want to just ask for your money. We want to earn it. And I would definitely like to smash the years that we had previously. Every year the FOH draft that has been a paid show, it has gone up as far as overall revenue, and I would love for that to continue. I believe there may be a teaser out this weekend, which you guys may see a little video as well. And then I believe the week after that may be when we release it. So let's check out Keepin It Strong Style also. They'll probably talk about it tonight as well. We haven't ironed out a date exactly, but it's always a happening with the FOH. And FOH stands for fuck out of here, and it's a draft. So we put those lightning rod topics in, and we draft them in, in a circle, snake wise, and then we have a lightning round. And in between that, you never know what, is going to pop up. I want to say the first 20 minutes of it is just absolutely hilarious. You can never plan how good, that felt and how funny that stuff seemed. But yeah, man, do not miss the FOH draft. It is a sensational listen. So moving on from there, the Continental Classic. So the Continental Classic has been a breath of fresh air, I think, to AEW programming with a lot of the kind of streamlined matches as far as there's no interference. There's not a lot of fuckery surrounding all this stuff. I think the promos have been great. Everyone from Jay White to Swerve Strickland, Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson, all these guys kind of cutting these promos in unique settings to accentuate their stories in this thing. And you would think it is a very easy kind of thing to follow. There are 2 blocks. Every time you win a match, you get 3 points. Every time you draw a match, it's 1 point. If you lose a match, you get jack shit. And the people at the end of the tournament with the most points in each block, they're going to face each other one-on-one to see who wins. You would think this is the easiest part of, understanding this shit, but never, and I mean never, underestimate the world's dumbest people. The people who do not actually want to engage with their product in good faith. The people who will feign confusion at a round-robin tournament as if it is not something that happens in college football or pro sports across the landscape. People who cannot add 3 plus 3, as Seth Rich Rogan says in the comments. People who, no matter how it is explained to them, whether a video package, a graphic, by the commentary, they don't want to figure it out. They don't want to get it. The more angry these people get or claim to get, I think the better. The more AEW should lean into this, because that will weed out the audience that I think AEW at times has tried to chase this year because of pressure from, whether it's, ratings pressure, trying to nail down the next TV deal or anything like that. But the C2 has been a really like a watershed moment in the intelligence. And I don't even know if intelligence is the right word to say. I would say just like how people react to things in AEW, them trying to not do things how they were done in North America. This is also one thing too, like when people start claiming that they've been watching NXT and NXT is the best show and all this shit. Stop me if I'm wrong, but didn't NXT have done like mini G1s like the last 2 years? So like maybe it's not even all that different from what WWE is doing, right? However, the G1 itself has been round robin, Champions Carnival, round robin. So obviously, unless we are willing to call ourselves stupider than the Japanese fans as a collective, which I don't really believe they are. I think fans are fans anywhere, pretty much. And people get blinded and wrapped up in their biases and, whatever company they want to, go up for, they will feign confusion at not understanding what the other one is doing at a particular time. I think it is not worth listening to them as far as the C2. It's very straightforward, very easy, and I think it is something that is earning its place in the AEW calendar, and I hope they keep around because so many cool stories just going into this thing. So many just nice matches that have been happening with guys, and I had my reservations about how the C2 will work. Primarily being like it not being the square focus of the promotion. I think it needs to be at least on par with the world title at minimum, rather than something that's kind of in its own world. I wish more of the people that were in different storylines were in this thing, but this has given the guys that are in it a lot of room to kind of play with the format and really make this thing their thing known. And what better way to, there are people that think, hey, maybe this thing's a bunch of matches and everything like that. And on its simplest base level, yes, it is a lot of matches, right? However, in those matches, the narratives are just attached to them. Like the stories build themselves, really. And I think, obviously, this is not something these people understand yet, but should they engage in good faith, they will figure that out. But the C2, I think, just arguing with the dumbest people in the world, you will never win this, and you will never convert them, and they will be the people that continue to drive the negativity around your product. So let's move forward. I talked about the C2 matches. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite last week. We had 3 matches on there. It was Jon Moxley and Jay Lethal, Jay White and Swerve Strickland main eventing, and Mark Briscoe and Roosh. Loved all 3 of these matches. I thought Moxley and Lethal, I'll start there, I'm not really even a fan of like limb selling and a lot of stuff like that. But I thought Jay Lethal was working Jon Moxley's leg in a pretty entertaining fashion, and this one, actually, I was into this like quite a lot. One thing I think they are missing the boat on so far are upsets in this tournament. Maybe they're still to come, but usually when you're coming out, the blocks, you want to kind of get to that stuff faster and let people know anything can happen. far as Mox and Lethal, Mox got the 3 points, and he moved on from beating him. Bryan Danielson was on commentary for all these matches, and he was phenomenal as a commentator. And I guess there's no better time, since I'm talking about Bryan Danielson, than to talk about the leader of discipline, so to say, Bryan Danielson. So, also caught up in these stories, Bryan Danielson tweeted out something to the effect of, doing the right thing. It's not always going to make you the most money. It's not always going to be popular, but it's going to be the right thing to do. Hashtag AEW, and he put a heart. People were kind of like wondering what the hell is that, and immediately my eyebrows were raised. And then it was confirmed that Danielson was a part of a discipline committee, and I saw them flip on Bryan Danielson, of all people. A man with a pristine reputation inside of wrestling, a man that has worked in a creative capacity. He has obviously been a 20-year veteran, and he is someone that people think is friends with CM Punk, and they have obviously been connected as wrestlers for years and years, going back to I believe there was an indie show that was in Tampa. It was like FIP 2004. They were fighting each other or something like that, and they were in Ring of Honor, and had lots of matches against each other in WWE, and I think people saw this as like some type of betrayal and all that. I'm just here to let you know, Bryan Danielson did not owe CM Punk anything. You know what he owes him? He owes him fairness, professionalism, and to evaluate the situation as he sees fit. And in Danielson's stance, as it was said, was like, obviously CM Punk doesn't want to be here anymore, and he, based on everything that's happened, he probably shouldn't be here anymore. So Danielson, not the sole leader of this thing, it was with legal professionals as lawyers and HR people all kind of making up this committee, and Danielson kind of being the wrestler representative of this thing. If it wasn't going to be Danielson, who would you want on the committee, I ask? Would you want Kenny Omega on the committee? Would you like Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson on the committee? Would you like Christopher Daniels on the committee? Would you like several other people that this man ostracized on the committee? Would you like Colt Cabana on the committee? Would you like Jack Perry on the committee? Would you like Chris Jericho on the committee? No. So no matter who it is, they're going to be the enemy, huh? That's what it seems like here. However, it was like collective amnesia swept over the mindless, maybe that's how I'll refer to these people, the mindless minions, and not to be confused with Athena's minions. It was like they forgot Tony Khan walked out on stage and fired CM Punk in Chicago and basically said, yeah, man, we had a committee. They made a unanimous recommendation to me, which I have the sole decision and the final decision to fire CM Punk. It's like this never happened. They're looking for any way to not put it to CM Punk. It was always he had to get railroaded somehow, right? And they did it in Chicago. He had a Collision scheduled for that night. He had a pay-per-view scheduled the next night. He walked in there and fired his ass. And then the roster came out there and balled out. This is not Bryan Danielson's fault. This is not any other person's fault except Phil Brooks. The only thing I ask is, can you deal with it? Because if you can't, it's okay. Admit it. Say, hey, this really affects me. This changes how I watch professional wrestling because I'm so invested in CM Punk, and just whatever he does, I'm going to follow. But unfortunately for the rest of us that live in the real world that can evaluate situations like adults, obviously the disciplinary committee could figure it out. So I don't know what the grand conspiracy is supposed to be here. When I have to watch people that are sons of one of the greatest rappers of all time come out on Twitter and just argue with Sean Ross Sapp to death, I don't understand it. I'm lost. I think that it is a it's an unfortunate situation, really, because I would count myself amongst the CM Punk fans at one time. Like, yo, this is the guy we ride with. This is the guy we show up for, right? But, yo, let's look at it. Let's look at what happened. I don't know how you continue to call this person a leader unless you just think, hey, this person's entitled to act however way they want, and it's okay. Like, if that's it, maybe I don't understand. Maybe I'm the wrong person here. But Bryan Danielson, he went in there and did a job. I'm sure a job he didn't ask for, a job that he didn't want to be responsible for, but he basically was like, yeah, man. So he was obviously looked at for a reason. Like, yo, you can make a fair decision. And unless you want to come out here and give me this laundry list of things that Bryan Danielson has fucked up and then hold it up into, like, yeah, this CM Punk thing is the latest among them, I got nothing for you, Jack. Like, great comment. Punk fans act like Punk is some persecuted minority. That's because CM Punk is so great at his job at convincing everyone the world has wronged CM Punk. It's easy to whip up a base. We see it all through all walks across, like, many, you guys know what I'm trying to say, across many walks of life. We see people whipping up the base. So, it's interesting, man. And I don't know, what it's going to take for, I don't know if this is going to follow Danielson. I don't think it will. Danielson's just going to continue being one of the greatest wrestlers of all time and then handling any other situation that he gets asked in on, probably with class and integrity. That's kind of what it seems like. And, if we start comparing records, I don't know why we would look at Danielson's record and then look at Punk's record and say Punk is the one that we need to stand behind. Danielson's the problem. I just don't think you're of sound logic here. Zach Maki has a comment. He says, Rich, nothing Jack Perry did warranted Punk going off, especially if you're making multi-millions. All he had to do was tell Tony to handle that. Throwing away money like that makes me think he just wanted to be done at that point. Maybe so. But you would think I feel like he was compelled to act this way because he's not going to act like this in WWE. I feel like it was a respect thing. I feel like even though CM Punk was given the world was not enough. Dr. Larry, Danielson cleaning up when Punk leaves the territory. It's happened twice. This is 3 times. Seth Rich Rogan. I'm sure the people will now decide that Danielson is part of the grand conspiracy and they'll get banned from Twitter, and that will be that. Alrighty, we got James here. I'm going to loop him in to speak about Florida State. You guys are going to hear a cut in this podcast recording because I was able to get James here to talk about the Florida State Seminoles, and it is, probably about 50 minutes later since I last talked to him. So, James, what's going on, man?
I mean, look, it's been a really weird 48 hours for me. Not just the Florida State stuff, but like right now, I just got a family situation going on, and luckily I was able to stick my head out just to reach out to people because so many people, I guess because of the show, know I'm a huge Florida State fan, and they want to know my perspective on this, and they were expecting some epic rant and everything. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't have much of an epic rant. I mean, there are things that I'm pissed off about, but I don't have the all-time flame throwing, fuck that whole committee, send them all straight to the pits of hell type of thing. I just don't have it. I never had it. I didn't have it when it was announced and they got fucked over in that kind of way either. But yeah, like Rich, can you tell me like what were your kind of like your main points on when you talked about it earlier? 'Cause I heard you told me you had already talked about it.
Yeah, I think it was for me. I was like, yeah, man, this is fucked up that they didn't make it, but there was one team that was going to get fucked in this thing, and as soon as they put that thing in there about the availability and the injury status of the team, I was like, there's no reason that they would say that if it wasn't going to really become a factor in this thing. And I was shocked when they did the 13-0 thing and not let them in, and they were like, yo, they're not in, Alabama and Texas are in. But at the end of the day, we know the score on this stuff. They want the SEC team in there. And that's just how it is. Maybe this is why Florida State needs to get out of the ACC.
Yeah. So I'll fill in for where you are. So let's start from my perspective on it, right? My initial watching the thing, I actually laughed. Like, I laughed at incredulity, but I wasn't actually like, I wasn't like, I can't believe they did this to this team. I'll start back even further. This particular Florida State team is my favorite Florida State team since the national championship team in 2013. This is a team that I feel like was coached and together and reached its potential as a team. This is not a team filled with 4 and 5 star, with 4s and 5-star roster. Now they weren't absolutely put together or made better by the additions of Jaheim Bell and Braden Fisk and Keon Coleman through the portal over last year. They absolutely were. But those guys weren't exactly like, some guys leaving out of Ohio State or Alabama and coming over. They only played at Florida or at their school for like 1 or 2 years. We're talking about like people that Keon Coleman got out of his situation at Michigan State, and then next thing you know, this year Michigan State had a fucking, their coach had a sex pest scandal, right? Like, there's all sorts of weird situations. But my main point is this: this team, for the most part, was filled with high, really impact portal guys that like Mike Norvell was able to hit at a rate that like nobody else has been able to make this portal thing work at this level with the kind of success rate of high level players. And it comes back to, we're bringing people in that can play, but we're not bringing them in just to get a check off NIL or whatever else. We're bringing them in because they are a fit with our culture. They want to be here. They want to work hard. They want to bust their ass. They're injured. They're not checking out of games, and they're battling through injury. Like, Keon Coleman's banged the fuck up. He's probably not. It sounds like he's not going to play in the Orange Bowl, but he's been out here. He's been out here just out there just running around with no juice for like about a month now. Or since the week before the Miami game. He didn't even play the week before the Miami game, and then played through it, scored, had the go-ahead touchdown in the game. Like, this is a dude that like has busted his ass for his first year he's been here. Right? Braden Fisk, the dude has been walking around on a boot between practices all most of this season. And then he goes out there and leashes with him and Jared Verse, like probably the best like combination defensive line tandem I've seen at Florida State since like Peter Boulware and Andre Wadsworth. We're talking about like an all-time combination. Like, so, I've loved this team. I've loved how this defense has gotten better and better and better every single week, to the point now where like I think they might be one of the 3 or 4 best defenses in the country after like thinking that Adam Fuller needed to be fired as defense coordinator. I love this team. So it really sucks to watch all these guys come together. It really sucks for the guys that weren't necessarily transfer guys, but like the guys like Kalen DeLoach and the guys that were like, they came in, with Willie Taggart and Dream Ball, all that kind of stuff, and then they went to shit, and then they didn't leave. They stayed, right? Like, the Jordan Travis thing sucked really bad because this is a dude that, like, loved Florida State and, ended up not getting the scholarship to Florida State, so he went to Louisville, and then he came here as a transfer. And then, like, he was like, I'll play wide receiver. And Norvell said, no, you're a quarterback. This dude was a semifinalist Heisman candidate. And a dude that broke his leg, and people think that highly of him, that like that's the reason why this team is not in the playoff. Like, I love this team. I don't think I'll ever like enjoy a team this much going forward, as far as like the stories of these dudes coming together in these weird circumstances because of COVID and the transfer portal and the part where this team of seniors and redshirt seniors are still around, like, righting the ship after all this shit happened after Jimbo and with Willie Taggart. So I have a huge space in my heart for this team and this run the last 2 years of winning 10 games last year and then now winning 13 games. So it really sucks for those guys. But I mourn the season, and we go back through the archive and all that kind of stuff about when we talked about Full Gear, that particular show, because it's like I'm watching that North Alabama game and I see Jordan Travis's ankle snap 30 minutes before that show starts, and I just grab my keys. I think I threw something. I grab my keys, I grab my wallet, and I grab my phone, and I just go on on a drive, because like the Full Gear is starting in a half hour, but like if there wasn't a Full Gear, I probably would have drove for like an hour because I was so pissed.
Mm-hmm.
I was so blown. I can't believe that this shit, like this kind of fairy tale season, a season where like I thought all I wanted out of the season this year was split with LSU, split with Clemson, and that's between those two teams, and have a chance to just make it to the ACC title game. They won every single fucking game and won the ACC. I was so happy for this team. And I still am happy to see. I'm proud of this team. And like, look, once that happened, they won the last 2 games. They beat Florida. They beat LSU. I'm super proud of this team. But push comes to shove. If you ask me is this one of the 4 best teams in the country? The answer is no. So for me, when that decision was made, that decision didn't bother me. What I had a problem with is the week-to-week polling or whatever of the committee to all of a sudden Florida State lose their quarterback. They see the backup quarterback versus Florida. He stinks, and he also comes back and concussed. Right? Then the third stringer, who's a true freshman who couldn't practice much. He had a hand injury or finger injury. He's in versus LSU. Go back to the Florida game. After the Florida game, saw Tate Rodemaker stink. Why wasn't Florida State dropped out the top 4 then? That was the time to do it. Those cowards thought that they were going to lose to Louisville, and that was going to take care of it, so they could have ranked them where they were and left them where it was. Because when they talk about this, the committee year after year after year, they've never done power ranking before. Power ranking meaning like, who are actually the 4 best teams? Fuck, one team lost some stupid ass game. Who are the 4 best teams? Is it Alabama? Is it Georgia? Is it Ohio State? Is it Clemson? Is it Michigan? Is it Texas? You know what I'm saying? They've never done that before. They've always thrown in a TCU or whatever else. So they get to the point where they had the opportunity to see Florida State not score 1,000,000 points on Florida, sorry ass bums, right? and they had the time right then to have said, all right, they stink, and now they're going to be with the third stringer. Drop them. Put them down to 8th. They didn't. They left them at 4. So they go into this weekend, and they play a top 15 team in Louisville, and they beat them by 10 points. They beat a team that was just as high, or no, more higher ranked than Texas did. Texas jumps in 1 week from 7 to 3. Florida State drops from 4 to 5. Alabama jumps from was it 8 or 7 to 4? 8 to 4. And it's like, okay, and Florida State is now at 5, which is like, and their point is, all right, well, Alabama's better than them because of the injury. Okay, so tell me why your power rankings now, because you just told us the power rankings are not actually about, the resume, even though you've done resume every single fucking year until this year. Tell me why in your final rankings you have Florida State at 5 if they stink so fucking bad. Why are they behind? Why are they in front of Georgia? Why are they in front of Ohio State?
Interesting question.
Shouldn't they be 7th? Because by power ranking, they're the worst team with 1 or 0 losses, right? Put their ass at 7. Put them at 7. They put them at 5. They fucked Florida State. Now,
yeah, big time.
Now, when I first saw the thing initially, I was like, I didn't care, because ultimately, it's not. I know intellectually they're not one of the 4 best teams. So I'm perfectly fine with it. And you know me, I tend to prefer a team. I prefer them to, like, if a team is good enough or whatever else, you can overlook a win or one loss or whatever else, as you think a team could smash the other team. Florida State will get smashed by Ohio State. Ohio State has a great defense. Now, Kyle McCord stinks. He's transferring, but he stinks. So maybe that is a closer game. Given how Florida State's played on defense, whatever. But Georgia, a healthy Florida State without Jordan Travis, Georgia rolls easily. I have no issue with none of this of them not making it. But the process of hearing the argument is like, I can't. it's unjustifiable and it's cowardice, and that leads to us talking about the ACC stuff.
Yeah, it's you know, I just thought there was nasty scenarios that were gonna leap out any way that you went about this thing. Like, it was going to be the SEC confirmation bias. It would be either Florida State getting hosed. It would be Texas being like, yeah, it don't matter that you beat Alabama head to head.
Right.
One of those three was going to happen, and that shit just landed on us.
Right. And I'm honestly at a point where it's like, hey, I honestly feel like if Georgia had won the SEC title game, Florida State's in at 4 because they can't play Alabama in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's like, okay, Alabama's lost 2 games. Their whole thing turned into, oh, shit, like, Alabama's got to be in here. But Texas beat them. But Florida State went undefeated. For Florida State, Jordan Travis injured. That's their logic.
Yeah.
And, like, and the thing when it comes to it is, like, everybody in the committee always knows that. When you go from the last game of the season of the last championship weekend to the bowl series, you got 15 weeks to practice. Brock Glenn in 15 weeks of practice, given that he's a third-string quarterback that was injured, how much practice time do you think he actually got all year?
Probably not much, because he probably never took those reps with the ones.
Right. So, like, he was going to be better than whatever you actually did see, even though he was good enough to beat a top 15 team by 10 fucking points on a neutral field, but whatever. So, yeah, it's time for the ACC talk. That was one of the things that's why I said it was like a weird emotional thing for me. Like, one of my favorite things from this weekend before this whole thing happened was like to be able to put out that tweet that I put out about, during the summer, Florida State made noise saying we want unequal revenue sharing amongst the partners in the ACC, because the TV money for the SEC and the Big Ten is so much more money year to year than what an ACC team gets in its share, that it makes no sense going forward for a Miami, for a Clemson, for a Florida State, for a North Carolina to stay in this conference. But the only school that is willing to say, hey, this is bullshit, change this, or we're leaving and you get nothing and the conference dies. The only person willing to say this is Florida State. Clemson's just sitting in the shadows waiting for it to happen. But when it's time to jump, guess who's jumping with Florida State? Fucking Clemson. So, what happened over the summer was a bunch of, Wake Forest fans, Carolina fans, NC State fans said all this shit about what has Florida State done. I'm sorry, the ACC has won 5 national titles in my lifetime. 3 of them Florida State. What do you mean? What has Florida State done? Right? I sent you the video. About what Florida State and Clemson has done as just 2 programs compared to the rest of the conference, and it's been a landslide. Like, you can say what you want to about Carolina basketball, Duke basketball, all that shit. The ACC is Florida State and Clemson, to further notice. They're the breadwinners or the cash cows of this conference. So, like, they don't want to play that game. Florida State was trying to look a way to get out of their grant rights and then move over. Whereas whether it's SEC or whether it's the Big Ten, geographically makes more sense for the SEC, but whatever. And, we talk about, college football is full of these insecure communities. In Florida State's, the SEC's insecurity in general is they were so goddamn racist that they didn't stop their racists from letting them be the best conference in football until the 90s, or you argue the late 90s, right? Yeah. That's their insecurity. They didn't have to deal with it, right? That's why Florida ran away with the conference forever, Anyway, Florida State's insecurity is they're the SEC school. They're the SEC power. It's not the SEC. In their sister school in the state of Florida gets to brag and talk shit. Meanwhile, they never ever gone undefeated ever in a single season. They always say, well, if we were in this weak ass conference, we're going to defeat it or win one game or lose one game every single year. Meanwhile, well, bro, like, we beat you every single year. What about that? or not every year, but like we've beaten you more times than most since Bowden's gotten here. So what do you have to say? That is the thing the jab at Florida State is they're the SEC school that's not an SEC.
And this shit is finally like come to haunt them in like the worst way because people decided, fuck your conference championship.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. In the grand scheme of things, Florida State is perfectly fine. Like this will never happen again because it's the last time there's ever going to be a 14 playoff. If this were last year, they would not have done this, knowing the shit that committee would have to deal with the next year as far as ridicule and claims from the public of illegitimacy, right? So that is what it is. But in this grand scheme of things, like Florida State, there aren't 9 jobs better than Florida State, independent of the head coach. Like, it's not. Like, once we've gotten the NIL, it has kind of closed the gap on what it was kind of lacking on behind on. And also Florida State figured out, like, they're behind the times on the way they were spending out the percentage of football money compared to sports money. Once they solved that up, Florida State is back on track and everything. And they hired the right coach and all that kind of stuff. So they're back on track. They have number 3 recruiting class after having substandard recruiting classes compared to what Florida State has had in its heyday. They're trending up. They're still trending up, and their NIL initiative, I would say, is doing pretty goddamn well since this happened in the last 24 hours or day and a half. Mm-hmm. So Florida State to be perfectly fine, but it was just it's one of the things to point out. Like, look, man. The other day was the death of the ACC. It may be 2 years from now or whatever else, but it's happening, and this is what's going to expedite it. The conference is done. It's walking on. Is a dead man walking. It's going to look like how the Big 12 was looking this year with Texas and Oklahoma out the door, looking like the Pac-12 with Oregon and Washington and USC out the door. It's going to happen next 2 or 3 years. We're headed towards 2 super conferences, 2 labels, and this is what killed it. This is what killed it. The ACC is dead as a football conference. It is
incredible, man. It's unfortunate, man. Like, because it's like the team did what they were asked at the end of the day, and apparently they were asked something else. It was like, hey, just when you think you got the answers, we changed the questions. Yeah,
it's like, hey, you schedule LSU. You went out there and beat them by 21 points on neutral field. Okay, great. You schedule Florida every single year, but they're fucking bums. So they hurt you ultimately by being rivals with them this year in particular, or this particular run, of the last almost 15 years now at this point. Miami, they haven't done shit for you for your schedule in 20 years. Been in the conference since 2004. They scored 3 points in ACC title game history.
Damn.
Thanks, Miami. Appreciate it. Right? So, that's the situation. Like, they schedule who they scheduled. Their schedule let them down. Oh, and also, another part about this also, when Louisville kicked that fucking game to Kentucky last week, they went from being top 10 or ranked 10th to dropping to 15. If they had been top 10, it'd been a lot more hard for them to have done this. Be like, wait, they beat a top 10 team by 10 points. You think you're throwing them out? That'd be even hard for them to get away with. But you can say, oh well, Louisville, they lost their last 2, whatever. They're not that good, so get them out of here. Get them out of here. Get Florida State out of here. So, you got. It was funny seeing Norvell. Like, they showed the video like almost like Selection Sunday when you show teams on the bubble. And you show them like, they show the joy of getting in, also the agony and sadness of not getting in. Right. So they showed Alabama get in and everything. They showed Texas get in, and then they showed the Florida State team, and they showed like you see Jordan Travis there in his fucking cast, and you see him next to Trey Benson, and you see Norvell, and you see Norvell in the white hoodie, and then you see all the disappointment in the entire room, and then you see Norvell, basically rally them and say, "Hey, it ain't over. We got a bowl game and that kind of stuff." But like in that was like just later in the day, like an hour later, you get the news about the Orange Bowl of Georgia versus Florida State. So then you see like Norvell and Kirby Smart doing the telephone or doing the internet conference from their offices,
Zoom.
and you can see like, bro, look at these two. I have never seen a New Year's Six bowl game where two coaches absolutely do not want to be fucking there because both of them thought they were going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right.
Kirby Smart, not a black man, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all heard that one, but Rich, because one of our friends, Kirby, been on the show before. Kirby's black. I guess he just thought like, I guess it's a black name, so he just assumed Kirby Smart. I just assumed Kirby Smart was black, and I was like, well, and I just laughed at it, but then I thought about it the next day. I was like, Rich, you mean to tell me that if Kirby Smart had been black, we would have been talking about him on the show a lot more often? Like, you mean to tell me Nick Saban had a long-term defensive coordinator that was black, then gets the Georgia job, and it's not a story about his blackness, and then wins 2 national championships, and that's not a story about his blackness?
No,
he'd be the first college football coach that was black to ever win a national title. He won 2 back-to-back. Nah, man, he'd be in the barbershop. Kirby's hypothetically black, Kirby Smart's hypothetically black ass would have been in the barbershop.
Up there with MOK and Obama, right?
Yeah. Shooting, and in that same picture, shooting dice with Tupac and Biggie and all that. Yeah,
correct.
He been on the look. Kirby Smart, hypothetically black ass, been on the cover of Jet magazine.
Essence.
Yes, Essence.
With the family, all that shit.
Yeah. But look, man, it was just hard to take this or to see like what happened to the guys and everything that I had watched all this year, because like they righted the ship. They flat out righted the ship, and they're going to hold a special place tomorrow. And I thought that I thought it sucked that this happened to them, but like I get it. But to see the shenanigans of them like doing the power ranking stuff, being inconsistent from the week to week stuff with it, the results of the weekend leading to the jumps like that was just like, it's shenanigans. Like it makes no sense. Florida State should have been pushed down after that Florida game, and I've been fine with that. Be like, all right, y'all get ready for the gut punch that's gonna happen to y'all. Florida State, I'm more in tune of this. I'm aware of what's gonna happen. Everybody, like I got a whole heap of Florida State fans, and like I'm kind of antisocial at times, Rich, right? So the woodwork these people came out of to be like, is James okay? James, what the fuck is happening? James, what's your opinion on this? Is like, wow, or not wow, but it was like, yeah, man, like either some good shit happened or some bad shit happened. When people start coming out of the woodwork, they text me or message me about Florida State.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was one of those weekends.
Checking on Floyd Johnson.
Well, he's taking it way rougher than I am. Way rougher. I'm upset by the kids. Floyd's upset about himself. And I don't blame him. He has a right to be. He loves the school just as much as I do. He loves the football team just as much as I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Put a wellness check in on Floyd, man.
Oh, man.
But yeah, all right, man. We'll let you go, man. But I did talk about the Okada and WWE or AEW stuff, the free agency earlier. Talked about the C2 and talked about Bryan Danielson, layer down of law a little bit earlier. But we'll get you back on here next week, and we'll do the full thing. But just want to get you on with the FSU stuff. Yeah,
I hope everybody that wanted what they wanted as far as a reaction from me got some anger out of me. I'm not as angry as other people. Like, I ain't as angry as Mike Norvell. I ain't as angry as the AD. Bro, we got like Rick Scott and DeSantis and Trump tweeting about this shit. It's a lot of strange bedfellow for outrage.
Look, it's putting us on the wrong side. So I'm gonna just be like, you know what? They got it. It's all right. If we got to stand next to Ron DeSantis, I'm not really comfortable with this.
Yeah, like I didn't. It was funny because I was trying to talk Floyd off the ledge. But look, bro, we had no chance of winning anyway, so there's no reason to be this upset. And then he was arguing like, nah, man, that's bullshit. Like they earned the right by winning them 2 games. It's like, look, you got a point. They did just beat Louisville by 10. And then that DeSantis shit came out. I was like, bro, you don't look whose side you on. This what you want to do? This what you want to do?
This ain't it.
Yeah. He didn't respond, so his answer is yes, I do want to be on that side. Like for one night only, this one time special collab, Floyd Johnson Jr. and Ron DeSantis on the same side of some shit.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's great. All right, man.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yo, peace.
Yep. Later.
Alrighty, so yes, they would not let Florida State finish the story, unfortunately. And we cannot coexist amongst the rankings. So I'll jump back into our Dynamite review here. So the next part brought us to Tony Schiavone with Sting and Ric Flair, and this is like an old school style promo. A lot of focus on Schiavone, and then handed off to Flair and Sting. They announced that Revolution is going to be March 3rd at Greensboro Coliseum, the same building where he wrestled the Nature Boy Ric Flair in 1988. Flair was struggling with his words, but in the midst of all this, Flair actually did say what I think was the line of the segment. And when he said, I didn't make Sting, Sting made himself, I think that put Sting over heavy. And I thought that was a really tremendous line from Flair, to really just kind of like remove one of the major kind of narratives. Like it was like, yeah, Flair just carrying Sting. Like it could have been anybody with that. It was like, nah, man, Sting not only held up his end of the bargain, but then he went and had 35 years of a career after that. You can't give it all to Flair. You can give something to him, but you can't give it all to him. So from there, we went into Roosh versus Mark Briscoe, which turned out to be one of the best matches in the tournament. Neither of these men have a problem fucking each other up in this. They're gonna, Roosh is gonna wrestle aggressive. Mark Briscoe's not gonna get swallowed in any of this. This is a slugfest, lots of chops. Danielson was talking about their determination, and both of these guys were coming off losses, so you could just feel the desperation in both guys. Just bleeding through on here. This all, went until Roosh got the bull's horn with the win. It was just like, this was a rough, hard-fought match, and this was like what I was anticipating when I saw these two in the same block. I didn't figure this was going to be a match, a top-of-the-block match. I thought this was just going to be down in the mud, in the muck, and that's exactly what it was. Really liked this match a lot. I'd probably go 4 1/4 on it. I thought it was, just the epitome of like what I want to see at least some of this thing be. We got RJ City backstage. He was there with Tony Storm, Luther, Mariah May. Tony Storm was pissed about her acceptance speech. She's talking about JFK and the Kennedys and all types of weird stuff. Yes, Seth Rich Rogan, I'm glad you brought that up. Bandito, another wrist surgery. He's going to be out a long time. Maybe not till like May or June. So he sent a long message out about it. But as far as Tony Storm, she was just kind of talking and says she wants to defend the belt next week, or she's going to defend the belt next week. They set up Tony Storm versus Sky Blue, a match that we have seen several times. I saw a promo from Sky Blue. It was not good. It was rather soulless. And I'm just wondering, like, is this like Sky Blue overpush? Like, is this a result of like unavailability of everyone else? Is this just like, you're trying to make a new person? Is it just like is it something I'm missing in the ratings? I don't know. But Tony Storm and Sky Blue has happened at least 3 or 4 times. Tony Storm's won every one of them. They heated Sky Blue up, if you can call it that, with a single victory in a 3-way match last week, and now she's wrestling for the world title, or the women's world title. Do better. MJF then decided to break out of the malaise that he was in, and he did probably one of his best promos in months, like a calendar season's worth of of amount of time. He brought the cane out, and he basically builds Samoa Joe up, talks about respecting him, for not only believing in AEW, but, not wanting to line his pockets. That's why he's here. He's here, because he once had a poster and he was growing up watching TNA, and one person stood out from that company, the Samoan Submission Machine. And MJF mentioned that Joe was not being awarded the opportunity to become WWE World Champion, but proved that you didn't have to be a bodybuilder to be a champion. Joe helped pave the way for guys like MJF. Without guys like Joe, there might not be an AEW, and MJF thanks Joe, even though that hurts him to do so. Kept a very serious tone on this. I liked it. Build the guy up, and then say what you have to kind of say. So it either looks like you're winning against somebody worth a damn, or you're losing to a really tough individual. So MJF from there, he put himself over. He was, for helping start the new alternative, helping build AEW brick by brick from day one. He talked about everybody that he's beat, from Bryan Danielson to Kenny Omega to Jon Moxley to CM Punk. The one person that he was lucky to survive against was Samoa Joe. December 30th isn't about Joe's legacy, but it's about Max's. Can Max survive the one final boss, one final time? And he promised everyone he doesn't care what happens to his body. He's going to show the world is not about the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight and the dog. Joe wants to take what he's going to, he wants to take him. He's going to have to put him down. He broke his cane, and then the lights started flickering and all that. We got a bunch of low-budget production as 4 masked men appeared, and one held a bat before Joe made a save. I think this is the end of the line for Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I don't see Samoa Joe losing twice to this man in short succession like this. I think there are other people that are being positioned to get up to the championship level around Samoa Joe. So, you can probably look at the Continental Classic. Maybe there are people being hidden in there. It seems like what MJF and Joe are doing, this is I feel like this is a classic. Yeah, man, it's time, because MJF cut a promo where it wasn't fucking goofy, it wasn't stupid, it wasn't all this rigmarole with Jay White that he was doing. It was all right, there's somewhere for him to land when he loses the title, which is all that devil shit that he's going to be occupied with when he loses. So he's not going to be going right for the belt. So he feels right for the picking right here. So Samoa Joe is going to win the AEW World Championship, people. So make peace with it, or whatever. But that's my prediction. So we'll see. But as far as the whole segment, I thought this was a really good segment, and I think that this is, if MJF is going to go on in this, at least it's not bullshit. Hopefully he can put this guy over clean, but you never know. The devil's people might, get involved in this. So next week, MJF and Samoa Joe are going to be taking on 2 of the masked men. I saw a photo that made it look like Mike Bennett and Roderick Strong were 2 of the people under the masks, and it looked like you can see their facial print through the mask. So if they blew that, that would be hilarious. And I think it was, I don't know what's going to happen with this match next week, but I hope they get unmasked and we start essentially peeling back the layers on whoever the fuck this is. Wardlow killed AR Fox. Of course, that was set up last week. AR Fox still not really getting to do much of anything post Wembley Stadium. So, unfortunately, that continues. Then we got the return of Dante Martin, goddammit, an RLPW All-Star, a man who I think will one day be the best flyer in pro wrestling if he's not already that, up on that level already. He came in with Action Andretti, Top Flight. What a fucking trio. This is right up my alley. They took on the Hardys and Brother Zay. When Isaiah Cassidy was in there working with these guys, this seemed like, the lightning style, fast as a blur style wrestling that I love, the flips. This is what the trios division should be built upon. I don't know what the Acclaim are doing with the belts, but 60-year-old Billy Gunn, if I got to watch him walk around with that title for one more day while brothers like Action Andretti and Top Flight are coming out here doing this stuff, if they can just not injure themselves or get any type of bad luck, this is a perfect place to let these guys be fucking spectacular. And immediately I was like, when do we get them in there with luchadors? When do we get them in there with luchadors? And then, Dr. Larry, yes, he is Action Andretti, brother, yes. But I was praying. I was like, oh my God, get him in there with some luchadors, and I think this is gonna be great. And then after this match, after Dante gets the pin, gets a huge reception in Minneapolis, looks spectacular off the fucking broken leg. They play the broken leg video ahead of time, and I think people got to stop with this. Why did you play the video? We saw it before, right? They play the video so this guy can come back and be fucking spectacular, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. It's to help you get into it more. That's what it's for. So, I thought Dante looked great, and it was 8 months ago. That was one of the nastiest leg breaks we've ever seen. So immediately after that, they were getting congratulated on their win. Pentagon Jr., Commander, and Vikingo walk up. 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3. Let's get it. And then Vikingo, Commander, and Pentagon got a match on Rampage booked to get a win. So presumably we're going to get this thing set up between Top Flight, Action Andretti, and Pentagon Commander and Vikingo. Just open up the notebook, put the stars in. Can't wait. So up next we had Julia Hart defending the TBS belt against Emi Sakura. Don't have much on this except Julia got a good reaction. It's her hometown. Sakura's in there in the old Nyla Rose role in there, just put people over. Julia did a moonsault, looked really bad. So I don't know if she was too close or whatever, but match was decent. Wasn't nothing really to write home about, but it wasn't terrible either. So Julia gets the TBS belt, and I believe she's starting to feud with Abaddon, I saw, which is just this, as much as the segment with the luchadors and, Top Flight and Action Andretti was for me, Julia Hart versus Abaddon is not. It's not October. What are we doing? Be serious, man. I not for me. Maybe it'll stay on Saturday nights, but, yeah. From there, RJ said he was with Mariah May. She said she's hungry for more after coming off such a run in Stardom. Mariah May was solid in Stardom, so if you haven't seen her work, get ready to hopefully to give her some good opponents she can work with. She then knocks on TK's office. She disappears, never seen again. So from there, we got Christian Cage answering Adam Copeland's challenge. And, man, I talked about it maybe last week or 2 weeks ago that I was buying into the big Cope stock. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy low. I'm not going to, jump off the deep end for him or anything like that. But Christian and Cope deliver another solid segment here. And, their match has been built pretty good, and they are going to be in Montreal this week, so for the CNC belt. So Cage hid behind security saying management wanted to have security out here, and this is an inverse of that first segment they did where Edge or Cope did all the talking, and then Christian comes out with the go fuck yourself. Cage does all this talking, basically talking about December 6th, Montreal, you're not going to make it. He's, going through the long soliloquy of, taking out Wayne and Luchasaurus, and he, was talking about soul searching and basically talking about traveling up and down the roads with it. And, they said they became the greatest tag team in history, LOL. He then talked about Cope growing up with a single mother. He didn't have a father figure, despite being the patriarch of AEW. He's not Copeland's father; he's his brother. Cage's dad was there for Cope growing up. He's still his biggest fan. Blah blah blah. More of that. So like, all this leads up to saying, yeah, man. Like basically, Christian wanted to attack him with the TNT belt. Copeland hit him with the low blow with the punt. He basically like slid down, caught him before he fell. He picked up the mic, said, "Nice try, dumbass." And then, he said, "Shine up the TNT belt real nice next week because, the belt's coming home with me." He said one final thing. He said, "Go fuck yourself." And the person that was on the buzzer fell asleep. They allowed this man to say the entire fuck word, extended. I was shocked there wasn't an echo on that bitch. But from there, this was set up, and this is hot. This is anticipated, and this is a big match. So this has been an awesome feud, I think. Then this match in the main event, we got Swerve Strickland taking on Switchblade Jay White in a rematch of their match from New Japan Strong. And this was just a match of guys where at very interesting parts in their careers right now. Jay White just coming off taking on MJF in a credibility rebuild mode, I'd say. Swerve Strickland riding all the momentum. Beat AR Fox a little while ago, coming off the back-to-back wins against Hangman Page, coming in, defeated Jay Lethal, and then he's coming in the main event here, and the Minneapolis crowd just turns this guy, just gets behind this guy immediately. I would pump the brakes on saying Swerve is a babyface right now, just because he's being cheered for. I think a lot of people are trying to push like he has been turned. I don't think that's the case. He's going to be wrestling Mark Briscoe this week, so we'll see how he operates in that match if he plays the heat. But it is very reminiscent of The Rock in 1998. Everybody knows it. Everybody wants to cheer this guy. And he's done all this despicable shit, really. He's done a home invasion. He's, kicked the babyface of this company's ass, like, up and down, choked him out with a chain. And but in that, there's something about this guy that is special. People like him. Whether it's his wrestling matches, whether it's his style, whether it's Prince Nana and the dance, whether it's, his entire journey of like how he ended up in this position. I think Swerve's a really compelling character for a lot of different reasons. Like, you want to latch on to him just as an in-ring performer, you can. You want to talk about somebody that does like, the hardcore stuff. You want to talk about someone that, has passions beyond wrestling, like whether it's the music. He's someone that I think a lot of people are going to find pieces of themselves in, whether like you like what he does, like as far as a performer, or like, I have a passion in life that I want to go after too. That's in addition to something else I go on and all that. But him and White, thought they had like an excellent main event here. Just felt like a G1 match, and I think Jay White is much better in these type of situations rather than asking him to go 30. This is a clean win for Swerve with that kind of roll through off the Blade Runner counter. And then White actually kicked out of the Swerve Stomp, and he didn't end up hitting the JML or anything. But this was like, Strickland got dropped with a sleeper suplex in this thing, and this was like, he did the arm break spot to White. This was just like two guys just leaving it all out there, really. And good on them for doing a clean win here. And Swerve vaults to the top of the block here, tied with 6 points with Jon Moxley. Roosh and Switchblade Jay White, who've already faced each other, they're tied at 3. And Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe are at the zips. Looking forward, like looking at upsets on this thing, because I feel like somebody's got to, they've got to drop points eventually. Swerve and Mox are eventually going to face each other. I don't know when, but Swerve and Mark Briscoe are facing this week, maybe to make the points match. Maybe Mark gets the win there. No idea. I think Jay Lethal is going to, he's going to get a win on someone. I don't know who. Maybe it's Mark, but I think that, because Jay put over Mark earlier this year, it would be easy to give Jay a win back on that. So, yeah, I don't know where this is going, but really compelled by the Gold League here. Blue League is doing a lot of great work with Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston. A lot of people saying this is a great match. Go out of your way to see it, which I still am going to be doing. I was traveling over the weekend, so I'm not as caught up on my Collision. But Garcia and Andrade also had a match that delivered, as well as Brody King getting a win on Claudio Castagnoli. So this is like, they're two distinct kind of parts of this tournament. And, man, the C2, I think, is going a lot better than people may have anticipated. So don't know how all the stories are going to unfold yet, but man, this thing has been a great ride, and can't wait to see how it all plays out. But I guess there's only one thing left for me to do, and that's hit the music. Stardom Wrestling. So, we have been intermittently covering Stardom with like the injuries that they've had, our personal schedules, and everything else. But there are 3 matches that have been announced with huge implications. What up to my boy Imp? Stardom Dream Queendom so far in Ryogoku Sumo Hall is for the World of Stardom Championship. Suzu Suzuki will be taking on Micah in a rematch of the 5-Star Grand Prix Finals. The Wonder match, white belt, will be Mirai taking on Sayori Ano. The Goddess match for the tag team belts will be Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamatani. Aphrodite taking on Natsuko Tora and Momo Watanabe. Utami and Saya just won those belts back from Megan Bain and Micah. So looking at these, matches, these are like, this is a changing of the guard from, the last 2, years at this event. We concluded with these like kind of titanic matchups of Tam Nakano and, rising up and winning matches at the end of the year. Saya Kamatani rising up and winning matches at the end of the year. Shuri taking on Utami. Julia taking on Shuri. I think, to be fair, it would be, Suzu, Suzuki, and Micah is a completely different kind of match, because Micah is someone who has been around, who is rapidly gaining momentum, getting more over, and you can look at the Grand Prix final where, she was the one that was getting the reactions. And then Suzu Suzuki fits the mode of new Rossi push that has been out there. With the uncertainty of this year, a lot of the main eventers kind of been, away from the red belt mix. No Shuri, no Tommy, no Julia. Tam just dropped the belt into, with the Suzu or whatever, and no Mayu Watani around. It's like, well, they're gonna remake this thing drastically. Either it's gonna go on Micah, who's, in some respects like a journeywoman wrestler, like who's been around for a long time, or we're gonna put it on a prodigy like, Suzu Suzuki, who is just sensational in my opinion, and I think she is someone that you should go with for the future of this promotion. There is a delicate balance of making, the Micah thing, giving that reward, because a lot of people be like, yo, fuck it, just do it or whatever. But Suzu, I think, is just too, I think she's such a high ceiling prospect. I think if you put it on Suzu, you get her on the ascent, which is always, where you want to really like catch like a new star. You get them before they're made so they can, embody your championship. Zekamaki says Suzu winning would be similar to Utami winning. I think you could say that. I remember when Utami won, we weren't quite sure if she was, at that level to begin it. She quickly proved it. So I feel like I'm a lot more sure about Suzu Suzuki than I was about Utami at the time. So for me, I think they should go with Suzu. when James gets back on the show, I'm sure we'll talk more about it, and go into, what we, kind of think consensusly. Wonder title, Mirai versus Sura Ano. So, I'm not too sure of the storyline on this one, but these two have impressed me a lot, and they feel like two sides of a different coin. Very physical wrestlers that work well with a variety of opponents, and I think Mirai also fits into the new Rossi push thing. I called her winning that Cinderella back-to-back because it just didn't feel like anyone else was being positioned but her to be able to jump you kind of to that next tier. I thought that Mirai obviously was getting a lot of shit from people earlier in the year, not wanting to really recognize like her talent and everything like that, but Anu is just rock solid as hell too. This is a rock solid match. It's gonna be hard hitting. They're gonna beat the shit out of each other. I think I'm gonna go with Mirai just because Rossi gonna see this one through, my boy. So Goddess tag team match. I'm gonna stick with Aphrodite here. I think the long term story of Utami and Saya Kamatani is going to carry this promotion possibly later into 2024. There's a huge match between them to be made. Fresh off the cage match, they're reunited and they come back from injury together. And y'all know I'm a Queen's Quest fan, so Tora and Momo, y'all got to feel it. Hideo Tai got to lose. And over the next couple weeks, we'll see how this all plays out. But this feels like the first step, or the next step in getting this long title reign established for Utami and Saya Kamatani. Keeps them free away from the red belt, where they can allow someone like Suzuki to step into that role until it's time for the true elevation of Saya Kamatani and getting it back to working with Utami. And I feel like you can draw a straight line from that cage match they had earlier this year, which I loved so much, to whatever this thing ends up being. So looking forward to that. That's going to be on December 29th. But yeah, that's going to wrap up One Nation Radio this week. So as I mentioned, FOH draft coming soon. Make sure you check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson. Keepin It Strong Style with let me try this again. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. James normally does this. Keepin It Strong Style with Jeremy and Josh. Chris with Chris Things, the show excuse me. And One Nation Radio as well. So James will be back probably next week, and we'll be here and all that. So make sure you guys are sharing the show. And there's a lot of stuff going on Twitter right now that I'm going to tend to and check out. I don't know if people are talking about me or not, but we'll see. So, if you see me dunking on people on Twitter and all that, I had a good time doing that this past week. So, I'm going to just keep, kicking the reel. Appreciate you guys locking in for the show. It was very hard to kind of do a solo show this week. I'm very tired, and my voice is kind of going right now, as I can hear. But wanted to definitely still do a show for you guys tonight. And I'll be on Tunnel Talk tomorrow. I'll be recording the show with the girls over there, and very excited to do that one. And it's going to be a different kind of show. So Leah, joined One Nation Radio. I'm going to go over there and do the home and home there. And they told me they have a lot of interesting and unique questions here for me. So I look forward to that show a lot. So don't miss it. I will be sharing the link. I don't know when it's going to drop. It's like a bonus episode for them. So yeah, we'll holla at y'all. Peace. All right, guys. I'm gonna have to yank James's audio from the from the Twitch stream here. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for your kind words in the comments. My voice is like struggling tonight, but I gotta grab the audio because somehow it didn't record James into my shit. So I'm gonna have to do some surgery to put it all together. But I will get to it. And shit, I think, I might play some Mortal Kombat 1 after this shit. My job, I got these like reward points and all that, and I was apparently able to get this for free. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. So, yeah. So I'm gonna holla at y'all. Appreciate y'all jumping in the stream with me. And let's jump on the timeline and have some fun. So, peace.